Hello, Scott Stanfield here, live on the Modern Longevitarian, and today's a new episode 59. It's a new style of show. This is traditionally my Biohack Whack Wednesday, and how did I go from not being able to touch my toes, just barely getting halfway down my calves or my shins, and then and being able to touch my toes? Well, there's going to be a bonus at the end that's going to show you a specific stretch that I did that helped with this. So there was two stretches that really helped with this, and then through the time that I developed, which is a 7-minute exercise program or hip stretch. I call it man yoga. It's just down to the brass tacks. It's just down to like, what do you need to do to get this done, get in, get out, and move forward. I do this almost every night before I go to bed. And there's elements of yoga in here. There's also elements of the founder stretch from Dr. Eric Goodman. And it's pretty cool stuff. So before I get into that, I want to say thanks for being here on Spirituality Gone Wild. And you get to see my little workout study room that we have here at the house. And so I'm not in the studio today. And so the door's not shut. This is kind of open. You can see the house is open. It goes into the other room over there. And if you hear my daughter's lovebirds or dog barking or or you guess what? There's a couple of moose in the backyard this morning. We live in the mountains here in Park City at 7,000 feet. So Mama and her son are in the backyard. We've had some deer come through, and so anyway, just want to say that anything could happen in this particular one. Tomorrow's show is going to be a little bit different as well. We're going to have a guest on. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence, which is a little bit different thing, but I'm interested in those things. That's part of living in this modern world, right? You know, when your Gmail is populating the end of your sentence, that's artificial intelligence. When you're scrolling through YouTube and it gives you suggestions on videos you may like to watch, right? That's also an algorithm that's predicting what you may like to see based off what you watched in the past. So everything is orchestrated behind the scenes. And so we're going to talk about some of those things tomorrow with our guest. And it's going to be super cool. So if you're on LinkedIn or if you're at home right now, I encourage you to get up. We're going to explain some of these things as we go and do this stretch. And so you can put these together, pull out your notepad, take notes. If anybody's interested in what these are step by step, I want to just send a comment. I can't see comments right now. I got my over here. Oh, looks like we've already got one in. So, hey, Michael, Jeet Kune Do, right? So I'm a big, a huge Bruce Lee fan, and you probably hear me talk about Bruce Lee and quote him a lot. And I said that just like Bruce Lee developed his own martial art called Jeet Kune Do, which is the way of the intercepting fist, he used elements of all of these different martial arts. Now, he did train in Wing Chun, which is a Chinese martial art that was developed by a lady. And it was, but when Bruce Lee came to America, all his people that he was training were larger than he. And some of these moves that worked on smaller people in Hong Kong didn't work anymore. So he had to make some adjustments. And so he looked at Muhammad Ali's footwork for boxing. So that's one thing. He put in elements of Kali Arnis, which is a Filipino stick fighting art, which is a super cool art that has a lot of economy and motion. And so if you have a stick, you swing the stick this way. If you have a knife, you can do the knife the same way. If you punch, you can do the same move. So you're learning all the same moves, no matter if you have a weapon in your hand, a long weapon, and the stick is actually mimicking a sword or a machete, right? So a machete, sword, stick, a shorter dagger, or just empty hands, right? So all the same moves. So like that. He also used fencing in there. So there's all these different things. And some people say that that is one of the first Western martial arts. But what I use that, absorb everything, keep what is useful, discard what is not, make it uniquely your own. And you're seeing my own way of stretching hips, because what happens is we sit down, right? If you're in a seated position, right? I'm not sitting in a chair, but if you're in a seated position, I was doing a squat there, you're shortening your hip flexors, right? And the only good thing about sitting down is that you have to use the muscles to get back up. Some people say it's the modern day version of smoking and how bad it is for you. I've 3 times in my life I've had a stand-up desk since I've been working at home. I actually built a stand-up desk out of scrap wood we had in the garage. So I stand up almost from the time that I start the show till mid-afternoon until I eat, and that's even after I've worked out and things like that. So standing up burns calories, right? But sitting down, if you're sitting down at home, sitting down at at work all day long on a computer, this is a way that you can combat this. And again, I do this almost every night before I go to bed. The first element of this is the founder stretch. Founder stretch is developed by chiropractor Dr. Eric Goodman, and it's a foundational stretch. And what happened is the way that he developed this is he was having back problems, and he said that how can I tell my clients to come to get adjusted by me as a chiropractor, and I'm going to have surgery. So he had to figure out a way to fix his back problems in a natural way. So he developed this stretch, and it's super cool. Puts everything in the right place so you can isolate your hamstrings and your posterior chain. Posterior is everything on the back of your body. Anterior is everything on the front of your body. So basically you would stand tall, okay? Stand tall, take in a deep breath, and then when you exhale, just hold your rib cage as high as it goes when you take this deep breath. Now, that if your rib cage is going up super high, is because you're an upper chest breather and you're probably breathing in through your mouth. So again, going back to now, if you want to now I talked about this. Just before I get into the stretch, I want to say this. On Monday's show, I did 7 secrets to strength, and one of them was flexibility. This is what I do. This is almost all of stretching that I do is this one thing, and you can add so many things you can take away. You can make it uniquely your own, and my point with this is that, breathing is in through your nose, because if you breathe in through your mouth, you're sending messages to your nervous system that you're in fight or flight or stress. We want to be rest, relax, and we want to be in power mode. Parasympathetic, P for power. We want to be in power mode as long as possible, because that way we can be calm, cool, collected, and we can be kind and loving and creativity and in this where just health happens naturally is what you want to be. So in through your nose, which is more of a diaphragmatic belly breath. So in through your nose, and my chest came up, so keep it up there, right? You want to, okay. Now what you want to do is you want to tilt your pelvis forward, right? And weight on your heels. See my toes? I don't know if you can see my toes or not. My toes are moving. Okay. Hope you're doing this with me, right? All right. And so you're going to tilt this. You're going to isolate, keep your back. You're going to hyperextend your spine in a way, right? So that's what the breathing is. You breathe in, you're going to hyperextend your spine. You're holding this isometric, for your back, right? And I had back trouble for years, and I thought it was just going to be something I was going to live with until I was, dead and gone. But I fixed it with this is one of the ways of fixing it. So don't, again, stick around for the bonus stretch at the end, which you're going to love here. So anyway, hyperextend your back, right? You got your knees bent. You got your weight over you're off your toes, right? You're more balanced on your heels and the ball of your feet, more on your heel than your ball of your foot, okay, or of your feet, okay? Knees bent, tilt your pelvis, hyperextended back, okay? You're going to go down to where you feel a stretch, okay? Most guys, we're going to feel this early in the game, all right? Women, if you're doing this, if you're a super flexible guy, you're not going to feel this. So I'm feeling it a little bit, especially my left side. My left side's tighter than the other. Don't know why, but it is, okay? I cross here. I do 10 good mornings, okay, in this position. So I want to go past where I'm feeling it. That's 3, 6. Now hold this position, okay, and come up slowly, and don't go all the way up, but then you still got your back hyperextended. You still got your weight over your heels. You got your knees bent, okay? Pelvis tilted so you can isolate your hamstrings, okay? And you do want to do all of this in 7 minutes. I'm just explaining this to you so in a detail, right? So hands up like this. Guys, a lot of you can't do this. I still can't get them up all the way. I do too many dang push-ups, right, to do this. I need to start hanging more. So here, now bend down. Bend your knees a little bit as you go down. You want to get your hands to the floor, about a foot out in front of your feet. Dr. Eric Goodman, thanks for creating this thing. All right. What I do is I bring my hands to my ankles, and then you holding this angle that you have in your hips, and you can feel it in your hamstrings. I can feel it in my left. Now straighten your legs and hold that for a count of 10. And the shaking's the good thing. I actually put a little bit more weight towards my instep and push up. And I'm shaking. Sometimes I can't handle the pain. I'll do one leg at a time like this. Okay. Now, if you can't go all the way down, you could use something like this. I got a foam roller right here. Go down, get my foam roller. I'm in the same position, really. Just my arms are bent and straighten there. Just make sure you keep your weight on your heels. Don't put weight out on your arms. Okay. You can go lower. You can work your way lower like that. So then you come up slowly. Okay. You come up slowly. I feel that even in my glutes, all those things. So that's the first exercise there. Okay. Now that's stretching all the stuff in the posterior chain. I even feel a little bit in my left adductor, which is also the groin muscle, which is right here. Second thing is we're going to do cobra or modified cobra pose. I don't always go out, in flexion on my toes. So after I do that, right, so I'm here, I come up, go down into, you can get into plank, right, or not. I don't know if everybody can see me here, but just see my toes are still on the ground. You could go full on like this. You can modify it. Basically your hands can be further out so you're not putting as much pressure. And again, you saw the disclaimer maybe at the beginning of this video, go get some medical advice, get professional advice before you do any of these things. This is for educational purposes only, informational purposes. So you could do that. You can put your hands closer to your rib cage to get a deeper stretch. Now this is stretching your hip flexors and your core. This is combating being hunched over all day on your phone, on your computer. And what you're doing is you're trying to look up and get again, you're hyperextending your spine here, right? Let gravity do its work. Let your hips fall to the floor. You can do your feet like this, right? You can do your feet like this. You stay on your knees. Any way you want to do it. Okay. So you can take breaks if you want in this warrior pose like this. Okay. This stretches the quads if you want to do this. Quads are connected to your hips, your pelvis. Michael's got a question here. All right, breathing is the key to life. Control your breathing, control your life. It is. You can only live about less than 10 minutes without oxygen. That's why it's the first physical pillar as a modern longevitarian is super important. Okay. So once you come out of that cobra pose, right, you're stretching this way. So see how we stretched the first one? We're stretching everything in the back. The second one was stretching everything in the front. Now we got to hit some, every direction. We got to stretch things on the outside. We got to stretch the things on the inside. And we do that through doing some rotation moves, doing the different types of things. Okay. So the next one is you can put your foot up. Now you can come from here or you can come from here. Depends on your flexibility and your strength. So you might have to come to your knees, like you're taking a big step. Okay. Now you can do from this point, stretch again on the other side. So my left foot's forward, right foot back. All right. I am stretching my hip flexor. I'm leaning forward, stretching my hip flexor and my groin muscle on my right side. And I can feel a little bit on the left. Right. You're doing this, stretching it out. Okay. Do that. It's going to be 7 minutes, right? So I'll show you in the end how to do that. So come down, hands on the floor, reach out as far as you can. And you're going down, right? You're trying to go down. Some people can get down here. I can only get down here with one arm because of rotation. And I can do this way, right? You can do this 5 or 10 times, or your hand may be here and hold this pose like this. This builds core strength. It's stretching your hips in multiple directions at one time. Okay, there's that. Go the other direction. When I first did this one to this way, to the opposite direction, I could only get out to here about 90 degrees. Now I'm here, right? And you can get some momentum in play. 2, 3, 4. Do it like that. Okay. Now I'm going into pigeon. Okay. Put your hand out here, bring your leg in, lay it down like this. I always put my fist behind my ankle. Okay, see this, we're in pigeon. I'm a one-man show, so nobody's adjusting the camera, so I hope you can see this, guys and gals. Okay, so you want to put your back leg as far as you can without injuring yourself. I can feel that all in my hip, right? Let gravity do its work there. You might have to hold yourself off the ground in the beginning. Okay, such an important to stretch your IT band, which is really not a muscle. It's a tendon that runs all the way down the outside of your leg to your knee, from your hip pointer to your knee. Okay, you can lean forward, stretch it even more. You can go put some angle on it, whatever you want to do. Okay, here, some of you, this is more than enough. Okay, now you can add so many things to this. You can come out of this into a one-arm plank if you wanted to, right? Or one-legged plank because you got the one leg back, or two-arm plank, one-legged, right? You can just come out of this like that. Okay, come into just a quick downward dog. Stretch that chest out, those shoulders, and then you can alternate weight on the legs to give your calves a stretch. And then back to your knees. Do the other side, right? Other side. So same thing, stretching my hip flexors out, okay? On my left side, so just getting a little stretch in there, stretching the front, hands down. Now I can do all this. I did it last night in 6 minutes, right? And I'll do it at the end in one fell motion, but this is instruction right here, okay? And Michael, since you're listening in and you're making comments, let me know if you can't hear me, if you can hear me, how this looks. I need another set of eyes if you're out there. All right, so back leg back, let gravity do its work, and then whatever you need to do, right? So I brought my leg in pigeon pose. I got my right leg forward. I got my left hand holding my ankle forward so it doesn't come too far back. You can bring it back a little bit if you want, but just hold it in place. The main action is happening. You can't see it, but all under here. Oof. You can go out. I'm more flexible on my right side. This is easier for me, right? Now I forgot, because I was instructing. Here, get back to this position. Left hand down. I can do up like that. I like going down here. Put more pressure on there, on my hip. And then the opposite way. I got to do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, again, you only get right here when I first started. That core is a lot stronger. I'm more flexible this way. Super important. Okay, so again, you can come out of this, right, when you go to pigeon next, right? We did it already. Come out of that to one-legged, two-legged plank. You can do your downward dog. Stretch your calves out. If you're wearing shoes with a toe drop on it, and you never stretch your Achilles or calves, doing yourself a disjustice. All right. Oh, Jason's here. Sweet. Thanks, Jason. Thoracic mobility bar. My man, we've known each other for 6 years. Thanks, man. Thanks, guys. And Sharon, this hurts just watching. Wait till you see the next one. This came from Eric Goodman as well, right? And this is very similar to the founder stretch. It's just a wide leg founder stretch. And this it gets pretty intense. And this is just wrapping it up right here. So this is a game changer for you. So let me walk you through how to set this up. Okay, you ready? So I use the yoga mat. I'm 5'10", and I'm only so flexible. There's been times that I've been flexible enough. I've done this enough to where I get to the edges of the mat. But the key to this is not to put too much pressure on your knees. So your knees, I don't lock them out all the way back. I hold them in. I bend my knees just a touch, the same way you would be standing forward. I always keep my back weight back the same way as a founder stretch. My weight back on my heels and the ball of my feet. I can move my toes. I'm not leaning forward. And even when you bend forward, you still keep your weight back as best you can. You can use something like this, right? Or a weight, a dumbbell, a yoga block, whatever you got. I used a lot of times, see this stool right here, that when I first started doing this, that's how high I was up. So over a foot off the ground, that I was using that right in front of me, especially when I first started doing yoga about 15 years ago. I had to use all kind of ways of doing this, all right? So I'm holding this position, right? I feel this really in my here, which is where you should hear it. So you can start out slow with this, right? Where you're just basically, you're upright, and you can just do something like this, where you're putting some pressure on your hips, your adductors, or what you call your groin muscle. It pulls in, right? So all my athletic training days are coming in with all these terms, right? You could do this, right? Now, the thing is that you want to do the same thing, and you want to take a deep breath in, keep your chest up. And then especially when you're exhale, keep your chest up and then tilt your pelvis forward. And you're going to feel this in your groin, right? You're going to feel this, and then your arms out like that, weight back, right? So you're balanced on your center of your foot. That's your center of gravity. Okay. So you're out like this. You want to go down. Ultimately, you want to get to where you put your hands flat on the floor. Okay. You can use like I'm using this brace right here, right? Then you can come over, pull this way. You can. That's not really what the advanced level is, but this is a way to kind of get you started in it. I know a lot of people don't do this. Okay. You can go lower, right? Where you're like this. Now, the key to this is, you can see I went forward, right? And just kind of getting adjusted. But getting back to my center of gravity, so the center of my foot, balance between the heel and the ball, okay? And then you do this stretch here. What I do is I do 5 of them on each side, and then I go lower. I kind of inch it down as I get more flexible. And when I'm really flexible, I can just go down to the floor, right? So you can go down to where you're on your knuckles, right? Still keeping your weight back. My back's bending some, but you can even do good mornings in this position, right? Which is super cool because you're building your strength in your glutes, right? So I got my fist down, 3, 4, 5, right? Switch sides. 5, there we go. And you can get where you got both hands down, right? Do that. I don't know if you can see that. You can see it now. Hands down. And then last one. Sometimes you can get one hand down. You can't get both, but getting both down is key. There we go. And then you come up. Be careful not to hurt yourself from this position trying to get up. Some of you can just walk your way out this way, right? Get your knees down. Be careful that way. Okay. So, bro, good workout. As I got from a LinkedIn user, how often should I do this? If you haven't done this before, I would do this. I would do it every day, right? And I've done it every day for a long, long time. I don't do it every day now because I'm gotten where I've needed to go. So, all right. Who wants to time me? See if we can do this hip stretch in 7 minutes, right? I did it last night at 6. I've been doing this a long time, so it's no big deal. But so yeah, this is what I call man yoga. This is just hitting the most important joint in the whole body that I struggle with and most men struggle with, which is the hip, and stretch it every single direction. A lot of people struggle with hamstring stretches, and I figured this out because right here on my heel, right there, my balance isn't right there would hurt. And everything I did to my foot didn't help. I thought I had heel spurs, plantar fasciitis, all these different things. And this with one other stretch is what healed it. And because this muscle and my hamstring were tight. All right, here we go. Founder stretch. We're going to start on your mark. Get set, go. So deep breath in, weight back, bend knees, tilt hip. 10 good mornings. Okay, this is just 7 minutes, right? So arms up, down, touch the floor, bend your knees if you have to touch the floor, foot out in front of your toes. Straighten your legs, however you want to do it. If you're dehydrated, your core is going to cramp up, at least mine does. Make sure your weight's on your heels. Knees bent, straighten your legs as best you can. Touch your toes, right? Bend and push up. Can't handle the pain in both legs? Do one leg, then do the other. Okay, I roll down. I'm going to do a little downward dog, stretch my heels out, calves. Roll into cobra. Gravity, do its work. Hips to the floor. Hold yourself up. You could add so many things to this, right? If you wanted to, you could add in, well, I'm going in. Well, okay. I'm going to build some strength. Going to come out of it. Okay. Right? You can, boom, throw that up there, build that strength in the hip flexor while you do it. So many things. If you want to go down, back up, other way. You don't have to hold these for a long time. 7-minute stretch. Here we go, pigeon. Lean forward. Out. Build strength, flexibility, all in 7 minutes. You can go back, do another little downward dog, little under the fence action. Stretch again in the front. Come back, leg up front. Can put a little extra action on the hip flexor if you want. This way. Rotate, inward rotation. Get down lower, a bit more inward rotation. External rotation that way. You can add a little momentum to it, right? Then pigeon. The back leg back. So gravity's doing it for you. Lean forward. There we go. Use that to hit into the plank, build some strength. Add a push-up if you want, or under the fence. Now, go wide. All right? Go wide. Knees bent. Center of gravity on the center of the foot. No weight on your toes, other than a balance if you need it. Tilt your pelvis. Do 10 good mornings. Keep your back straight. Okay, I've already warmed up. I already did this one time, so I should be able to get my hands down. Just this one. There we go. Get a little extra action here if you want. All right, time. I don't know how long that was, 6-7 minutes. That's it right there. Yeah, every day. Yeah, sure. Man yoga. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, every day to build your flexibility. 7 minutes. Just look at it doing a 7 minute hip stretch, but you hit so many other things. All right. So once you build up some strength and you want to do some next level, sorry, I got a message on my phone here. I'm going to take that off. This bonus stretch. Remember I said I had major back injury. I used to race go-karts. I flipped go-karts multiple times. My worst one, I was going about 80 miles an hour on a dirt track. Last lap, going into turn 3 to win the money race, and got messed up coming off, getting into turn 1, missed turn 2, guy running second, got under me going into turn 3. I pinched him down into the infield. He held his ground, turned sideways, went in the air. Infield was a foot above the racetrack. Go-karts are 6 feet long. 6-foot guy was eye level with the rear of the cart. The nose was 6 feet up. My feet were 12 feet in the air going 80 miles an hour. I landed on my back, came out of the go-kart, and slid for 30 feet. Thought I was destined to have back pain my entire life. Kettlebell swings, doing this stretch, the founder stretch, and then adding in all this stuff has been help. I have no back pain, 0 right now. And then this other stretch. Start as light as you want. I'll use this one just to show you for demonstration purposes. Right? It's called the J curl, Jefferson curl. It's a gymnastic stretch where you're using weight to actually put some pressure on the hammies. Okay. So grab your weight. Some people do this standing on a box. I do this a lot of times standing on a stair, especially if I'm using a kettlebell. If I want to go lower, you can hold it a different way than by the handle. And so stand up tall, take a deep breath. Same thing. Bend your knees just slightly. Weight very well balanced on your feet. You're not going to be leaning too far forward. You're not going to be leaning too far back. Just center of gravity right in the center of your foot or just in front of your heel. Same thing they teach you in yoga, right? But gymnastics move, right? So one vertebrae at a time. Just go slow, right? Jason, you probably can't do this. Fused vertebrae. I don't know. You're probably not. So you skip this one. For those of you who don't have any injuries, right? You can give it a go. Start with no weight, probably. Okay, just one vertebrae at a time, and you just want to just kind of hold it, but also let go. You're building strength from each end of your range of motion to the next, right? You're not actually having to pull down with your core, right? You're actually just letting the weight pull you down. Okay, and then come up slowly. Do that 5 or 10 times. That'll change your world. Totally will. You can move up in weight as you need to. You can do it with no weight. You can do it with weights like this. You can grab 2 dumbbells. There's 2 25s. Okay. You go lower with these, right? So you don't have to worry about standing on anything. Don't want to nick up your stairs or anything, right? So I can get the right angle. All right. One vertebrae at a time. This is 50 pounds. Pulling on my hamstrings, 25 each, right? I'm shaking. Hold that position. And then come back up slowly. This is advanced. That's not simple. This is what gymnasts do to build their flexibility, right? Martial artists can do that, especially if you do jujitsu, right? You need to get in those, do grappling, get your legs up, do an arm bar, something like that. Yeah, I used to, that was limited modified, Michael, when I was going 80. That's a short track. We used to race open modifieds up in North Carolina on the asphalt oval. We turned that track in about 11 seconds, 11.7 seconds. It's the 5th mile, world's fastest 5th mile. So, but anyway, yeah, go-karts was my life for 15 years or longer, starting at age 7. So I just want to say, this is it, right? This is the workout. This is 7-minute hip stretch. I call it man yoga. You can just take your time and do it as you need be. You don't have to do it in 7 minutes like me. But when, I was managing restaurants, director of food and beverage at hotels, hospitals, I had to find a way to condense these things down in because we have a lot going on, right? You've got work commitments. You may be an entrepreneur. You've got you've got family, you've got hobbies, you've got all of these things. So how are you going to squeeze all of these things in? Well, the only way I could find is find a way to condense it down, find the most effective exercise, the most effective moves, and then put them together and just get down to the brass tacks and go, this is what I need to do, jump in and jump out. And that's there's no fluff in that. You can add some fluff if you want by adding some strength moves in it, but you don't have to. And it will help you feel better, and it'll take away back pain, right? And it did for me anyway. And so I just want to say that that's what I've done. So I've got multiple workout programs that I've put together to do exactly that. And somebody's walking in the background there. And this is how I stretch. And I'm not big into warm-ups when I work out because I'm like, hey, I use my first set as my warm-up set. And so I don't do a lot of stretching unless I'm going to hit something that may be a little bit, like, hey, I'm close to an injury or something like that. And so what do I give up with this, right? Well, I give up a lot of things. I don't do a lot of long cardio. Jason knows this. When he goes on hikes with me, I got to take a little bit extra breaks than most. But I like being functional. I like being durable. I like being strong and flexible. Those are the things that I like. And there are 4 million versions of you, genetically speaking. If you do the math on the DNA, there's 4 million versions of me. That means that there is a flexible you and there's an inflexible you. There's a strong you, there's a weak you. There is a endurance runner inside of you, barring any injuries. There's a power lifter inside of you. There's a bodybuilder. There's a yogi. There's all of these different bodies. There's a modern longevitarian body that actually is just going into what you really enjoy doing. And unfortunately, inside of all of us, there is a 100-pound overweight type 2 diabetic. You just don't ever let that beast out. My family genetic expression is cancer. And I was speaking to a doctor yesterday that's going to be on the show, and he's going to book. I don't know exactly when he's going to be on. It's going to be in the next month. He actually is trying to get ahead of heart disease in his family. That's the genetic expression in his family. And Phil Newman of First Longevity in London, he's trying to get in front of dementia and he's in his early 50s and trying to get in touch with that, in front of that. So we are making adjustments to figure out what lifestyles and environments we put our bodies in to create just genetic expression. There was a genetic expression version of Scott that had low back pain, numbing, all the time, 24/7, especially when I laid in his bed. I like sleeping on my belly. So if I was hyperextended anyway, that hurt. And I had to figure out how to express my genes in a different way or express my body in a different way to make all that go away. And so it's all possible. It's just you got to find what works for you, and you're starting at your own unique starting point. And so this is a way to start changing that and changing your flexibility and where you are. And Henry Ford had it right. He said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And whether you think you can be flexible or whether you think you can't be flexible, you're right. There was a day in time, my entire life up until recently, that this is as far as I could go. But no matter what I did, right? And I figured out a way, back straight, knees barely bent, that can go down and touch the floor. So it's all about mindset, and then finding what works for you and tapping into people like me that have done the work to figure those things out. And so I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I'm super excited about Modern Longevitarian. We've got a new show that's going to be starting soon. It's going to be called The Amplified Man. And I don't know all the details on it yet, but we're going to really dig deep into mindset and the demise of masculinity in the world. And that's one reason why I decided late last night that I was going to start bringing out some of these things that I've named over the years, like today is man yoga, right? And there's and I'm not against any other movements by any means. It's just changed the environment that young boys and men have to navigate, and the waters aren't always as smooth as they once were. And so I'm tapping into some great mentors of mine to really define this. And the show is probably going to be a panel of men having conversations about these topics. There's maybe some solo episodes, but there's definitely going to be some really, digging deep into limiting beliefs, mindset, and so the element one is lead yourself first with tactical mindset. And so that's really where we're starting with this. And I'm putting together a workshop on this. It's probably going to be a week from Saturday with the Spirituality Gone Wild Network. And I'm going to do that. And so if you're interested in that, ping me, hit me up. And that way we can start putting together a list of people who are going to join this workshop. And so another thing that we're finishing up with the Spirituality Gone Wild is the Book of Secrets from all the co-creators, or the core group of core creators, co-creators inside of this, and their biggest secret of life. And my secret is find yourself and do you. So that's the really biggest thing. Mark Twain said this. He said, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you found your purpose. So when you find your purpose, that's a super important day for you because now you know what you're here for. So find yourself and do you. That's my secret, right? And I bought Modern Longevitarian 9 years ago and never built anything around it. And I believe that's my purpose, to help people understand that they have agency. You have agency over the environment that you live in, that it makes your genes express themselves in a good or bad way. So that's what I'm here for. And if you'd like to support the show, or if you'd like to work with me as a coach one-on-one or in our group coaching programs that we have, January's group coaching is focused on weight loss, because that's the time of year you really do that. I know that I went through this Candida cleanse and I've got a couple extra pounds that I need to chisel away. And so I'm working on that as well. I skipped my bulletproof coffee today. I just had black coffee, and I'm testing Smart Java. So thanks to Hudson over at Smart Java for sending me a bag of Joe, and it's got almost all the things I would put in a bulletproof coffee without all the fat. So how do you burn fat? Well, there's a couple ways to do that. And I'm already metabolically flexible and being in ketosis for the last 5 years, cycling in and out of that. But you can't eat high fat and expect to burn fat. You have to cut your fat depending on what phase of the ketogenic diet you're in. So there's all those things that are in there. And I appreciate you guys joining me on the show today. Let me see if there's any comments that have come in before I wrap this up and roll the credits. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. Sharon says, I love your approach. Thanks, Sharon. I really appreciate that. I've got this set up differently here. And then Michael, I'm in, Scott. Well, I appreciate it. And so I really enjoy the show. I really enjoy helping people and coaching people. And it's been, a huge fun for me to be able to do this and help people in any way I can. And, the last couple of restaurants I worked in, was in the restaurant business for almost 30 years. And that's how I met Jason. We worked together here in Park City. And people ask me, like, what are you still doing in a restaurant? And that's a great question. And I got furloughed, and here I am. This is my pivot. So welcome to my moment. And so if you're find yourself and do you. Love Bulletproof. Thanks, Sharon. So I'm going to wrap it up right here. This is 44 minutes in. 7 minute on a 7-minute demonstration on how to stretch your hips, and then a little motivation at the end with a bonus on the J curl, the Jefferson curl, for an advanced move. So again, if you want to work with me, reach out to me, send me a message, drop me a line. My email is simple, modernlongevitarian@gmail.com. I'll send you a link. We can set up a discovery call. I give you basically a free coaching session, and do that. Michael, what's wrong with restaurants? There's nothing wrong with restaurants. It's made me who I am. I would never have developed all this stuff if it hadn't have been for me working in restaurants and having to work that stressful, high intensity, long hours on my feet and figuring out how to recover and all those different things. I love restaurants. I love the people in restaurants. It's actually this all the same for me. Showing up at the racetrack is the same as showing up at the restaurant. I see them as very similar, and I see the systems in the body and the environment we create, and I see that all as being connected. And you know what? It gives me also, Michael and Sharon and everybody listening, it gives me a unique perspective on food, right? I've been able to watch as an observer. Especially like watch people eat, look at body composition and what they order and what they eat and how much they eat and how much goes in their to-go box. I've been able to, also notice, like when you work a breakfast shift and somebody's hangry because their pancakes hadn't showed up in 7 minutes and there's a line out the door And then as soon as they get their pancakes, a couple bites of pancakes in them, or some sugar in them in some way in their coffee, they calm down and they're apologizing for being such an ass to us just before that. So, so I've watched how people are become dependent and addicted to carbs, right? And how intermittent fasting is such for me, a better way of living, and the advantages of that, and not having those moments of when you're hangry. And so I watch and I put these pieces together, and I've done these things over years. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's made me who I am. I love the restaurant business. I still coach people who are in the restaurant business, and I one day, and I have, and actually I'm going to do a course. I actually created a course, Michael, on how to hire people for restaurants. And I decided not to put it out because I was finishing it just as COVID hit. So I'm actually going to do a show on that, probably on Monday, how to hire for character. And I know a lot of people that a little bit more street savvy than me. I had to build a system around to figure out how to tease out the things I was looking for in people. So I have 12 questions that I ask, and I have certain answers that I'm looking for, and how to hire people that fit my coaching style. And so I'm going to do that as well, because I still put in these things. I had, Inga Stanfield, from no relation to me, she's from Texas. She's originally from, I think she's from Iran, I think originally. But she has her and her husband own 2 restaurants, and she has a podcast called The Making Dough Show. And so I still, support restaurants in many, many ways. And I have all my friends are from there. So there's all these different things. Michael, we can talk about you being on the shows. We'd love to set up a discovery call with you to see if it's a good fit for you as well. But yeah, those are the things, right, that I talk about. But anyway, if you're interested in working with me, losing a little bit of weight, getting a lot more flexible, building your body, your mind, body, and around being a longevitarian, or just wanted to extend your health span for a couple of years and feel better, I'd love to work with you. So I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Sorry for going on long. I'm a talker. I'm a data dumper, and it's time to roll credits. So if you're in the restaurant industry, you know the word, the term. It's my Friday. So if it's your Friday, I hope you have a great weekend. Cheers.